How long? How long have I lain here alone, cold, podcasting in the dark? An incessant buzzing echoes in the basement of my skull. It twines and vibrates down my spine, fanning out to the raw endings of my nerves. Is this really what podcasting feels like? Reality, time, meaning, they've all been rent asunder, brittle shards scattered upon dusty stones. Is it now? Is it then? Is it over? The podcast has to end sometime.
Welcome back to another episode of Spawnography. I'm one of your hosts, Pierce Lyden, here with, as always, pronouns they, them, here with, as always,
George Marston, pronouns they, them, or she, her. I just realized that, that ended with the podcast has to end sometime, which almost makes it seem like a finale. In no way are we done. There are hundreds of issues ahead of us.
There's too much Spawn to cover.
Look, this is my reason to live.
I thought that because they're one of your favorite bands, I thought you were going to do like a Red Hot Chili Peppers riff and do like, how long have I lain here?
Oh my
alone,
God, I'd rather have died.
Starving.
I'd rather actually would be dead. I think that would have killed my will
in the dark.
No.
An incessant
Oh
buzzing.
my God, how are you even doing this? What the fuck is this?
You never heard that song?
I don't remember.
I think it's called How Long.
Okay.
Anyway, that's immediately what I thought of when I read this. First time I was like, oh, are we doing a Red Hot Chili Peppers thing? Probably not.
I would rather eat human excrement. I would rather have.
Oh, sorry. It's called Other Side.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd rather have waste past my lips than the words of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Produced by Rick Rubin on their 1999 album Californication. And that's edgy because fornication means sex.
And it's a portmanteau with, of course, Californication, the show.
Correct, exactly.
I did have that album when I was a teenager. When I was about 14 or whenever that came out, I was like, this is good music, because I was fucking stupid. And my friend Danielle burned me a copy of that for my birthday that year. She's sweet. She has 2 children now.
Do you ever think about how when you're like 13, you just have terrible taste, but you think it's good taste? Like I definitely remember having like Nickelback songs on my like 1 gigabyte.
I was in a new metal band. Like
new metal's good
coming
now,
back. No, it's not. It's not. But that brings me to the thing I was going to say in response anyway, which is I think about that all the time because as a fucking certified middle-aged person, I am often confronted with the weird taste of teenagers and children. We've talked about the slang and everything.
Yeah.
We're old enough for that. I have become old enough now that I'm just like, yeah, of course. That's like the same shit. My generation listened to fucking Limp Bizkit. Of course this generation has fucking net spend or whatever, like noise meme rap that they love. Like I don't care.
Good for them.
The only things I care about are did a human make it? And is it made with the intent to harm or hate people? If the first is true and the latter is false, then I don't give a shit. That's
on that. Speaking of things that were made by people without the intent to hurt anybody, the Skibbity Toilet creator has lost the rights to Skibbity Toilet to Michael Bay's production company.
I'm surprised I didn't have to write about that at work yet.
If you could see George's face as I said a real sentence that is true.
I can't believe I didn't see that. I didn't have to write about that at work today.
You should pitch it.
Oh, okay. This is from like years ago.
Is it? No.
Oh, okay. I see. Now I see. It was not widely reported. You can cut the part of me looking it up. That's crazy. I don't know how true that is from the sources I've seen, but that is very fucking funny. I will say what is 100% true is that Michael Bay. Oh wait, no, it's not Michael Bay. Hold on a second. No, it is Michael Bay. It is Michael Bay. I'm so sorry. Post Malone and Michael Bay have created a comic that is supposed to be a whole IP
Is
universe,
this
so to speak.
the trucker one?
Yes,
Big rig?
yes, where it's set in the plague, and there's like zombies in medieval Europe, so they pray for a hero, and an angelic trucker comes to medieval Europe to fight off the demonic zombies. That is a real thing.
Here's the thing. That's basically Warlord meets
It's almost Spawn.
it. That is true. It is almost Spawn. Uh, it is kind of Warlord, and it is kind of what was the Marvel trucker comic?
Oh,
US 66 or whatever the hell it was.
yeah, I can't remember right
I
now.
promise that we're professionals who know things about comics.
I haven't thought about it.
Now I need to know. Trucker
It's it
comic.
is
US 1, that's what it is.
US
I was
one.
close.
Yes.
US 1.
Yes, of course. And I think later he was established as a mutant with a psychic connection to his truck.
Ulysses Solomon Archer or US Archer.
USA. Yeah.
Yeah, from 1983, which is a was a series produced based on the license of the US1 trucks sold like a toy that was a toy line. So this is just another.
He has a metal plated skull. You know who they should that's his superpower according to Wikipedia. You know who they should bring back is NFL Super Pro.
Agreed.
I'm surprised they just never brought him back as just Super Pro. You don't need the fucking NFL.
I know, but I'm sure there's some
Probably
crazy
ownership
rights thing.
rules.
There's probably
Yeah.
some crazy rights thing. And then
Yeah.
also like it's probably wrapped up weirdly with uh it's probably like a Fu Manchu situation with Shang-Chi where there's a bunch of references to actual NFL players in NFL
Yeah,
Super
probably
Pros
there is.
world, which then you'd
And they
have
don't
to
want to get Todd McFarland.
that, and also you'd have to then involve the Players Association, one of the best unions in the world.
Yeah, it's
Every sports players association. Anyway,
there you go.
you know, one thing I said something. I said this to somebody recently, and I probably said it to you before. Is fuck Ronald Reagan, but
Oh yeah.
it's a good thing that he allowed toys to be marketed to children, or else we don't. I don't think we'd like anything.
God. Yeah.
Like when you think about it that way, you're like,
I wouldn't have way more money and space in my house.
well, marketing them to adults is fine, but I guess the foundation was laid pretty early. How's your holiday? We're recording this after Thanksgiving, which by the time it comes out will be long gone.
Yeah. It was nice. I went to Thanksgiving. I guess I went to Thanksgiving at a very famous person's house. I don't necessarily want to say exactly who, not that there's no NDA or anything, but it was very interesting. They were incredibly kind. I met some very nice people there, and it was a very large gathering. Some of my family members were there, which is why I was invited.
Hmm.
And it was really cool. It was a very cool experience, and it was a very beautiful house.
And not to give it away, but now you are a member of the new Black Flag.
I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
But
congratulations.
Well, here's what's happening, and this is going to be incredible to you. Greg Ginn and I sat down and we had just a conversation about it. I showed him some of my guitar skills, and he decided that when he needs to de-age, he will be putting his mind in my brain, similar to the Superior Spider-Man. And then George will be gone, and then you'll be hosting this podcast with the psyche of Greg Ginn.
And he knows a lot about Spawn?
Nothing. He's also a dick by all accounts. One of two members of the core lineup of Black Flag who refused to come see my old band.
Really?
Yes, twice in Athens. Now, here's what happened. I didn't ask, Okay. Years ago, the the band I was in for like 8 years from like high school and all that shit.
The Beatles.
Yes, correct. It was, maybe you've heard of them.
Not
I don't want to get
not
into it.
spelled the way you think.
No, it is spelled BEIGHTLEIGHZZESZZE. We were pretty ahead of our time. Um, anyway, yeah, our name was almost that bad. We had a bassist for a while who was at the time 10 years older than us and 35. And I am now almost 10 years older than he was when he was the old guy in my band. Anyway, one time outside of the 40 watt, uh, where Henry Rollins was doing a spoken word event, my bassist and I were hanging out because we were playing at a club that used to be there called the Caledonia Lounge, which was basically directly behind the 40 watt that same night. And later in the evening, and we were walking past, and our bassist saw Henry Rollins and went, "Henry." And Henry Rollins is, of course, like, "What?" Because he just, I'm sure, loves that kind of shit. And he goes, "Hey, I'm in this band. You should come see us play next door after your show." And he just goes, "No." It was amazing. Then not that long after, Greg Ginn's like surf rock band, not Black Flag, but his like weird other project thing, they're like a surf rock jam band, played at this little club just a couple doors down from that, this little outdoor space. And again, we were walking by, and there was Greg Ginn standing outside, and bassist again goes, "Greg Ginn." And he's like, "What?" Because he's also not into anything.
Yeah.
And our bassist goes, "Come see our band. We're playing later." And he goes, "I'm not going to do that."
I mean, at least it was honest.
Oh, yeah. It was fucking hilarious to me. I was just standing there like, oh my God, this is the most like.
I love that the new version of Black Flag is Greg Ginn with a bunch of 25-year-olds who answered his ad for bandmates.
I know. It's weird.
It is a little bit weird. And also
I mean, whatever, I guess. I
the
don't
person
know.
singing, Greg was like, saw him in the front row at a Black Flag reunion show. So now they're the singer of this band.
Sure.
So
I mean, that's kind of how Henry Rollins became part of Black
do
Flag
you
almost.
think that Greg Ginn saw Rockstar, the Mark Wahlberg picture, and he was like, we should just do that?
Dude, that movie's so bad. Dude, that movie fucking sucks. What is it? Steel Dragon is the name of the band or something? They're meant to be Judas Priest.
Yeah.
That movie sucks. I
It's
saw it
pretty
in the
bad.
theater. I saw it in the theaters 3 times because I worked in the movie theater where it was playing. And so like
you saw it once and you were like, even though I get to see this for free, I still want to see it 2 more times.
Well, more saw like chunks of it. You'd watch it throughout the day, like you didn't have anything going on, so you duck into whatever movie for like 20 minutes or whatever until your supervisor realized you weren't actually sweeping in there. So I saw a lot of movies. Saw Swordfish like 4 times by Transitive Property. I guess that movie's long, very long. Speaking of long movies, we were talking about this before.
A Swordfish, a movie most famous for Halle Berry being topless.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I wasn't gonna like make objectifying Halle Berry the reason to watch a movie that's ultimately pretty fucking long.
Yeah,
And a
well,
little boring.
not that good.
No.
But yeah,
It ends with flying a bus on a helicopter through Los Angeles, which they actually had to do, I think. So.
Oh, I thought it ended with her boobs becoming machine guns. I must be confusing it with a
Austin
different.
Powers, just around that same time.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. I was conflating the two.
Yeah,
the fembots.
Similar, very similar.
Yeah. You just saw a movie that you did not like. And speaking of Mark Wahlberg, who's in
that movie?
He's in Boogie Nights.
Right. Okay. Yes.
I can connect anything. 6 Degrees of Mark Wahlberg.
I mean, I do hate Mark Wahlberg, but I love Boogie Nights. So the movie I saw that I just did not like at all was One Battle After Another.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say right off the bat, I think I got it. I generally like Paul Thomas Anderson. I think I've seen all but maybe 1 or 2 of his films, and I've liked basically all of them quite a bit. for a movie called One Battle After Another, very few battles, maybe
True.
one at the start and then none after that. Um,
Well,
lot of driving in cars
it's a
quietly.
psychological battle.
I guess.
Here's the thing. It's a movie about a white man's anxiety about dating a much cooler black woman.
Yeah, and I understand that that's Paul Thomas Anderson's
Like
experience or
actual
whatever,
life.
but the perspective of that made the politics of it a little confused to me. I'm not gonna like get super deep into that, but I was like, there's some weird like white people carrying the torch for the black woman who betrayed the other black women, and it's like, I don't know. I didn't. Uh, you can respond to that or not, and it's not going to change my mind.
So
I just didn't feel great about it, and I didn't know what to make of it.
I don't feel qualified to have too much of an opinion on that part. However,
Like I said, I didn't know what to make of it. I'm not condemning
I
it. I was
I
confused by some of what it seemed to be
I
about.
felt that it was a little bit of like it is your ability to be sort of a revolutionary sometimes can dwindle over time for any number of reasons,
Sure.
and that what you can best do is set an example that allows for the future to uh, maintain to be able to continue on, because
Sure.
Benicio
I
del
mean,
this is not spoilers for a movie that was out literally 2 months ago. So Benicio del Toro's character is somebody who is not who never really sacrifices his morals or his politics, right?
yeah, I just people are gaga for that character, and he's barely in the movie.
He's
And
wonderful
like,
though.
I guess
So
none of the
also,
characters were quote wonderful to me.
okay,
None of the characters were particularly interesting to me. Guy I hate to see, Sean Penn, was the most interesting and well drawn character of the movie, which fucking sucks. And here's why: because it to me is one of a string of movies where you're being asked to sympathize with on some level and perhaps identify with the worst fucking people in the world, and you're made to feel better about it by the end of the movie, by your sympathy, by maybe for the small kernel of admiration you get for like some aspect of the character, by them getting some comeuppance, some sort of. And it is too. I'll think of it. It makes me think of another movie I saw recently. First off, I'll say this: One Battle After Another. I think two of the big reasons that I just didn't connect with it as a movie, themes aside, I probably could have still enjoyed it, as I often do with movies I don't necessarily, feel super in tune with. Too fucking long, an hour too long. It took me like 3 sittings to watch it, and every time I would pick it back up, I would be like, all right, now it's gonna pop off.
the
And
thing
it just
is,
never did. Two, I think part of the problem is it was sold to me as a high octane, big budget action movie that was incredibly intense. And it was none of
oh,
those things. It is a character drama with a little bit of an action driven
there's
subplot.
like a couple of guns. Here's the
Uh
thing. You also watched it at home. And I will
yeah,
say,
but
it is a movie that it is like a movie that in a theater where you're locked, where you have to be like locked into
I
it.
mean I was locked in. I wasn't playing with my phone
You
or
no,
anything.
you weren't locked in if you watch it in 3 sittings. My point is
I
like,
mean, the whole time I was sitting there watching, I was trying to be
no,
locked in
I
is the
know, but like
problem.
when when you go to the movies and you also have a crowd with you, and
I mean, maybe I would have
there's I
appreciated the experience more.
so I saw it in VistaVision,
You know,
which
the
is
fuck that one is.
so VistaVision is a long kind of dead format
Mm,
that
okay, okay,
PTA was able to sort of like bring back through.
right, 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 right.
It's just an aspect ratio and sort of whatever. You got to shoot it on film through a bunch of fixed cameras that like you barely exist, but some guy collects them and like fixes
Right,
them, and it's cool,
right.
whatever, right? Saw it in VistaVision. The scene towards the end with the cars, with it's a kind of a slow chase, but like
Oh my god, I was
the no,
dying. I
but
was bored to
in the
tears.
theater, it feels like you're on a roller coaster, and it feels
I don't
like
believe that.
it was awesome. It was so awesome.
I'm
It was
so glad you had that experience.
I'm probably gonna go see it again in IMAX because we're getting that and Sinners are getting re-released in IMAX in a
Okay,
couple
now
weeks,
Sinners I would go see in IMAX, absolutely.
and I'm
Sinners,
excited.
fantastic movie.
I'm
Of course, I
excited.
love Sinners.
So
Yeah, I don't know. Just I saw this reel or video or whatever on Instagram of these like comedians being like it was labeled Frank Grillo core, and just to be like, let me tell you something, and he'd be like, fuck, I love getting bitten by dogs. And just crazy shit. But one of them they threw in there was just One Battle After Another was a good movie, and that's how I feel about
all
it.
right.
Is that
Well, it is a good movie.
look, I was gonna say I'll compare it to compare and contrast it in some ways to another movie I watched recently, which is Eddington by Ari Aster.
Miss me with that one. Just watched
That
it too.
it okay. I get it.
Didn't like it.
I get what it is.
Yep.
I get what it was. It is the fantasy world that conservative conspiracy nut jobs believe they live in.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reality they think they're in. In that movie, Antifa super soldiers descend on a town.
I mean, that part's like a little bit funny.
Where an anti-mask sheriff basically fights them all off. Okay. I get it that this is saying like this is the fucked up world in their head. I just don't want to live in that with them.
Yeah.
And also it does nothing to launder that, or it does a lot to launder it without being critical at all. Like you have to know that you're supposed to think critically about it. So if fucking Alex Jones watched that movie, he'd be like, finally someone understands what's happening.
I feel like Alex Jones would watch that movie, then play a clip and be like, this is a great documentary about what's really happening in Eddington. And you'd be like, hold on, there's a lot of layers to this.
Yes, exactly. No, but like, yeah, it's satire has to be distinguishable from reality, or even at least the reality that it exists within on some level. You have to be able to recognize it. And I think Ari Aster wanted it to be incredibly confrontational, but I'll tell you fucking what, I'm sick of being confronted by right-wing lunatics. It happens every day in real time, in real life. You've heard this podcast enough in recent months and weeks to know, and you've lived in this reality too, all of us, to know that it's just too much. No matter what you're like, unless you're a person who hates human rights and you are like a fucking fascist Nazi, you are probably sick of hearing about the people who hate human rights and the fascist Nazis going unopposed.
Yeah.
So like, so when you have Stephen J. Lockjaw and he's the only character in the movie that has anything resembling an interesting performance from one of the worst fucking dudes of all time, Sean Penn. I spit on his name. It's too much. There's too much contrast between him having agency, and then he's also the one who gets to be like, no, your mother was a revolutionary and she believed in the cause and blah, blah, blah. And like, be the one who stands up for the right. I'm sick of right-wing guys in movies. First off, we don't need the fake villains. We have the real ones.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of them becoming sympathetic. Now, by the end of the movie, he's long gone.
Yeah.
He's taken care of by people worse than him, but he's ultimately punished not for his actual crimes, but he ultimately gets his comeuppance for his contact with a black woman.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand what the message of the movie is. I don't know if it has a message, and I think that's dangerous, and I think it was also fucking boring.
I think that
if you have opinions on this, by the way, readers, don't ever email me.
All right. So final thoughts before we move on from One Battle After Another. I think that sometimes part of you looking for meaning comes from not enjoying it, and also the hype around people really enjoying
Well,
it.
also that movie had a lot of scenes of like the main characters getting ready for fights and like prepping for gun battles and all this shit. And like
Yeah.
I don't need every movie to be a blockbuster octane action movie, but there were like 11 literal Chekhov's guns in that fucking movie. There was Chekhov's sensei, there was Chekhov's rifle, there was Chekhov's karate
I
training, there
mean,
was fucking
here's
and
the
I was
thing.
just so tired. I don't like movies where they set up a bunch of shit and then they're like, we don't actually need that. It's not even gonna be relevant because it wouldn't be in the world. And it's like, okay,
Uh,
man, well, it might be in your fucking world. You
I
made this
I don't
world.
I don't think that you're being. I think your overall dislike of the film is
I
coloring.
mean, that's part of my dislike of the
I
film.
know, but I think that you're almost.
Literally every 5 minutes, I was like, the next scene. And then it would be like, oh, they skipped the scene of action that they were heading towards. Okay.
I mean, there is plenty of action in the film besides the beginning when he gets chased through the thing and the
The
kids on the
first like
skateboards and he
30 or
falls off
40
the
minutes, and that's it.
and he falls off the thing. I don't know. There's more. There's more. It just
Most of it is just chasing, and I don't like
that's
it.
fine. That's action.
No, it's not. It's barely drama. Anyway,
We're gonna agree to disagree on this one.
This is how you feel. This is how you feel about every movie I like.
That's not true.
It is.
No, it's
On
not.
this podcast, it
name,
is.
Name a movie that you like.
Fantastic Four.
Herbie Reserves Rights.
That's not part of the film.
It should be. Why didn't we address it? I don't understand the politics of the Fantastic Four film if we're not talking about whether or not Herbie deserves rights. See, I can do this too.
He just doesn't deserve.
Also, I don't. That part where she went outside and just made a speech didn't make any sense to me.
It did. They set it up a lot. Herbie can have rights. He just can't have a funeral. That's my stance. I'm reiterating that.
Also, that's the only movie you like that I've disagreed with you on.
I don't think that's true.
I think that's true.
Okay, well, what if it is? You're about to have Antifa super soldiers at your house.
That was the one part of Eddington where, so my review on Letterboxd of Eddington is, when is Austin Butler going to play Brandon Boyd in an Incubus biopic?
Austin Butler, Tom Hardy in that movie last year. Never watched it because those are two dudes where acting is just doing a voice.
No.
Yeah.
He was okay on Caught Stealing. He's not really doing a voice.
Never saw that.
Oh.
I did see him in Dune and I liked it.
Yeah, he's great in Dune. And I guess he's doing a voice in that.
He's specifically impersonating Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's good in that. I like Austin Butler. He's fine. He's perfectly fine.
He's fine.
Caught Stealing, a perfectly fine film that I also recently watched. Inside Man. That shit slams. Anyway.
I have a bunch of shit on my watch list that I need to get to. It's screener season.
Yeah. Anyway, today we're covering three issues of Spawn because it's a 3-issue arc and also it's a little bit breezy. 139 to 141. When we
we're closing in on 150.
I know, we're almost to Compendium 4. Are you
I
excited?
know, I am. I have it on my shelf already.
It's awesome. So, when we last left our hero, he had been captured by Clown, Clown in the body of Jason Wynn has now been recruiting other clowns, and there's a blackout, and clowns ran amok in the city, and they basically put they leave Spawn for dead, essentially. And that's kind of where he's at. And we've been building towards a lot of something. It's not clear exactly what. We got Nyx and Mammon doing things. Nyx is trying to save her friend Thea's soul from hell because she feels responsible. Her other friend that they were in a small little 3-witch coven with kind of wants nothing to do with it and won't help her because she's super Christian now and doesn't believe in all that stuff she did when she was a kid. So it's really up to Nyx to try to save her friend Thea. Thea, if you remember, Thea is a girl that we met issues and issues ago, whose boyfriend was abusing her, and she thinks she's being chased by a demon that is Spawn trying to save her, but Mammon ends up killing her and damning her to hell.
Or convincing her to...
correct. I mean, I put it the way that I put it a little bit on purpose.
Fair. But it will come up because where she is in hell is based on that. So little bit
broad
of trigger warning for that.
broad trigger warning for self-harm. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think we can leave it there. Is that
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
enough
totally.
anyway. Again, if you
This is
listen to this
actually a
show,
remarkably more super heroic arc in some ways
yeah,
than a few of the recent ones. Yeah, it's not bad. You know what? Before we get too deep into it, Piers, hit me with those credits.
all right, we're gonna hit you the credits for Spawn number 139. This is Todd McFarlane and Image Comics present Hellbound Part 1. Plot by Todd McFarlane, Brian Holguin, story by Brian Holguin, pencils by Angel Medina and Nat Jones, inks by Danny Miki, Victor Olazaba, Alan Martinez, Crime Lab Studios, and Nat Jones. Lettering by Tom Warzakowski, colors by Brian Haberlin and Jay Photos, cover by Greg Capullo. This one dedicated to Paul Burke. Paul Burke was an actor, most famously on the 60s NBC or ABC television series Naked City and 12 O'Clock High.
Okay.
He's nominated for an Emmy in Naked City, which he was like an NYPD officer, and he famously did some racketeering with Henry Connick Sr. And he was in the Thomas Crown Affair, the original one with Steve McQueen. He was in Dynasty, and the last thing he was ever in was Columbo.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, Naked City, of course, had the famous tagline, "There are 8 million stories in the Naked City, and this is one of them." Later adopted by Jays. I think that's how it's pronounced. JC.
Somewhat, somewhat famously, his
Jason Z.
correct.
I think that's his name.
Yeah, Jason Zason, but he shortened. It's fine.
Yes.
Famously, his granddaughter is Aaliyah Shawkat from
Oh,
Arrested Development, Search Party, that kind of thing. So
well, great.
her? No, that's Anne.
That's
That's Egg.
This Anne is the nose on Egg's Plain's face.
Yeah. Cool. No idea why this is dedicated to him. He's not dead at the time that this is coming out.
Was
but
he in Spawn or something?
Nope. He stopped acting in
Okay.
1990. Feels like maybe it's just a guy that Todd met.
Yep, probably. Probably at a con or something.
Yeah. Anyway, this issue opens with the opening that we did for this episode. And it is an extreme close-up on a really gross fly. And in one of the fly's eyes, we can see Nyx, kind of her body strewn about. And this narration is clearly her. This is a good rendering. It's kind of all downhill from here for Angel Medina, unfortunately. And
I'm going to go ahead and ascribe some of that to timing. The last few issues, especially with the context that the next 2 issues that we're going to read are fully penciled and inked and colored by a totally different team.
Yeah.
I have the feeling that they're trying to do a catch up. And we've had some issues with some of the art in the last couple, a few issues for the last few issues. And I think that Nat Jones coming in, or it's Nat Jones or Nate Jones?
Nat,
that's what I thought. Nate Jones.
Nat Jones.
My goodness. Thanks, ADHD, for processing that in such a cool way. Nat Jones coming in is a breath of fresh air, and I think he suits the rest of the arc. But yeah, these first 2 pages here, there's a lot of panels on the second page. Catching up with Nyx. She says she's lying near death on the cold basement floor of an abandoned building. She says she's been there for 9 days. We'll find out why in a minute. And she's had no food, no drink. First off, if you had no water for 9 days, you would already be dead, I think.
This is sort of a magical...
Yes, it's a magical ritual, but part of the ritual is taking herself closer to death.
Right.
So that she can... It's sort of like a necromancy sort of thing.
Yeah, she enters a fast.
Yeah, she's trying to contact a devil. And not the one you might expect, because what's happened recently is that Mammon has tried to strike a bargain with her that if he gives up Spawn, or if she gives up Spawn to him, he will free Thea's soul. However, she's trying to strike a different bargain with a different devil. We'll find out more about that soon. But there's this fly buzzing around, and it's kind of watching her as she is sort of laying there unconscious. She's talking about when she first took up the craft, she swore it would never come to this. I wasn't going to be one of those witches, the tawdry cartoon image of a woman who traffics with dark forces and consorts with devils, which is propaganda. She says, I chose to worship at the throne of nature to seek blessings of earth and explore the harmony of all things, blessings of Mother Earth and explore the harmony of all things. Now, the thing is, I think that's interesting because it is almost a metaphorical take on the actual corruption of the concept of a witch in the public thought. Witch is, of course, comes from Wicca, which is where Wicca also comes from. But it's true, which is a term that sort of means wise woman or wisdom, a Wicca woman. Uh, and these were people who, in pre Christian times and in post Christian times, but particularly pre Christian, were in Europe, were sort of like the local healers and herbalists and things like that. They would do blessings and stuff, of course, but they had knowledge of nature, interactions of medicinal herbs and roots, that sort of thing. Another thing they had a lot of knowledge of was abortion and pregnancy management, which is there is some scholarly debate over whether that was a thing for which they were later demonized or specifically demonized towards the tail end of the Christian adoption in Europe. So I don't know. It's interesting that she's, gone down this path. I think it's something also that is, yeah, I'm just going to stop there. I think it's interesting that she's gone down this path, and as she is laying there, it says she is almost about to die when suddenly she opens her eyes, and the fly that's been buzzing around says, "It is time." Meanwhile, we flash back to 2 weeks ago, which is we learn when the clown riots took place. Clown Riot, my other least favorite band. Um, Al was beaten severely in the last panels of that by the clown mob. Um,
He's got one shoe. He's got like a gunshot
yeah,
wound.
they beat his shoe off of him. That's how bad he got hurt.
One thing that they talk about in the in some of the dialogue is that he is an M-shaped tattoo or
And it is
scar,
not on
and
his
it's
chest.
just not
Not
there.
depicted here.
Basically, they don't know how he's alive, but they're trying to get him more plasma. Also,
Well, what they need is plasm, necroplasm.
necroplasm. But also, everybody in the place is like it's crowded. Tons of people have like bandages and stuff. This is where the art, I think, starts to really take a downturn because like we're kind of like missing details. It's crazy that one person has a neck brace, one just kind of has like a bandage on their eye, and then
I
the
mean, that's
other,
not that
I don't
crazy.
know.
Like these are just
The
the
figures just
art
feel,
doesn't look compelling. They're just floating in space.
yeah,
There's
exactly.
nothing to make this look like a hospital. And I think that's part of what makes those two characters who are injured look out of place because their injuries are visible and they're the only ones in a crowd of people who are supposed to be injured. There are
Yeah.
also two agents here, Agent Wolf and Agent Hare, who are investigating Al because he's one of the only people who came out unscathed from a subway car where the clowns were rampaging. So,
And through all this, Nyx is still catching us up and narrating. And she even recaps how she got where she was and what she's doing. And she says, at its root, magic is a form of currency. Each spell is a kind of transaction. This one will cost me dearly. The price is flesh and blood, and secrets too dreadful to speak aloud. I form my intentions, hold them diamond clear in my mind's eye. I utter some cumbersome words in a dead language, deftly weaving a tapestry of flattery, entreaties, an ancient, intricate protocol. And basically, she's just
it
telling
says,
us how
yeah,
she got to
I
the.
love the end of that.
Yeah, I'm all poise and bluster on the outside, but a dead man could smell the fear dripping from my pores. The shadows gather, thickening the stale air. I submit myself to the darkness and gaze into the abyss, and I wait for the abyss to blink.
Nyx's narration on this I really like. I think it's some of the better narrative captions we've had in a little while, a little more compelling. The prose is a little more interesting. And of course, that was 9 days ago that she sealed
Right.
herself up. We cut back to 2 weeks ago where Al's in the hospital. Agents Hare and Wolf try to come talk to him. They're from the FBI. They ask for his ID. He doesn't have any. They say, we're the government. We can do what we please. There are a lot of dead people in an NYC subway car, and one guy makes it out alive. So they're suspicious of Al, but they don't know who he is yet.
Yeah.
At the same time, while they are out of the room where they're watching over Al, Nick sneaks in, and Al is unconscious, still in his coma.
This
Yeah, sorry to back up. Al is in a coma now.
This panel that says we're the government, we can do what we please. What are we looking at?
I think it's meant to be he's looking in the face of like a doctor wearing a mask or a TV screen or oh, you know what it is? I know exactly what it is. It's the doctor's glasses.
It is,
is
but
just,
but who is that?
That's I don't know.
Who's that person?
I don't know. That is just a random guy who isn't Agent Wolf or Hare.
And kind of looks like Terry, but definitely isn't Terry either.
Terry, yeah.
Very weird.
Art error. Very weird. Anyway, Al is in a coma. While he's in a coma, Agents Wolf and Hare, and apparently a secret third guy, are watching over him. While they're out, Nick sneaks in. This drawing of Nick's where just her face is in darkness.
It's so weird.
She looks like she's got on blackface. It's such a weird choice of how to render it.
Especially because we know who she is from her hair. So her face could either just be rendered in full or rendered in darkness.
It is very much like, I gotta finish this face kind of look.
Yeah.
So she approaches Al and explains to him what she's about to do. She tells him about Mammon and how he's in danger. The funny thing about her hair is we cut to the next page and it's not the same hair.
No,
her hair is wrong.
We're all over the place in this issue.
There's
and
some
also
weird inconsistencies that again lead me to believe that this isn't exactly the best work.
It feels like you gave one page to 18, 20 different artists and they just all did whatever they were going to do.
Well, when you read those credits, that's kind of what happened. And then you have Nat Jones and Photos.
Yeah, J Photos.
J Photos. Yeah, and it's two guys, and it's like you can see the cohesion a little bit after the sort of like three-ring circus of like half a dozen inkers.
Yeah. Listen, Crime Lab
issues.
Studios, Victor Olazaba, Danny Miki, and the whole gang have done a great job in the past. This one feels like this has to get done tonight, and nobody can agree on what these characters look like.
This seems like one of those times when they're all sitting around in Todd McFarlane's living room, passing pages in a circle or something.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and as we said, the next two issues all by Nat Jones and J Photos.
Yeah.
And
I dig them.
They're great, and they're also they're a little bit of a breath of fresh air, as we'll get into. And also, I think that just points even more to like, we got to get this issue out.
Yeah. So Nyx is here. She's telling Al everything that she's doing, and she says that she thinks about changing her mind, and she's in the dark. She's no longer alone. The cloth of reality has begun to unravel, and the little fly is still flying around, and she reaches out and grabs it, and she says, "I'm Nyx, daughter of the night, maiden of the green world. This is my circle, and I hold you in my thrall." And the fly starts talking again and says, "I am Nazazel, lordling of hell, duke of carrion, and envoy of decay and discord. I hold dominion over the rotting places. I am keeper of secret eyes and hidden doors, and I was invited."
You know what's interesting about that?
Yeah.
We looked it up. Nazazel,
spelled like that is nothing.
Does not seem to be. The funny thing is, though, Beelzebub is the Lord of the Flies. That's where that term comes from.
And Azazel is Nightcrawler's dad.
Yeah, also other shit. But Beelzebub, the fact that this is a fly, it could have been Beelzebub. Maybe, they wanted to make
Also, it's a demon. It could be lying.
Also true. It could be anything. It's not even a real fly. Um, Nyx is trying to make her bargain, and she says, I seek safe passage to hell for myself and another of my choosing. She explains this. The pacing is strange because of the like back and
Yeah,
forth.
we cut back now to her being in. Now they said like, listen, I think Holguin is also doing his damnedest to cover for the art being a little inconsistent and weird, and he
Yeah.
keeps saying like reality is unraveling and all this stuff, and so like we're back in the hotel room, and now she's you know uh
Every one of her faces so far is
is
a
different
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 person,
person.
which is
um
not usually that inconsistent. But yeah, she says she's not going to give Mammon what he wants. It's the connect. She explains the connection where she sewed his heart or his shadow back to his heart or whatever, basically reconnecting him to the symbiote.
right, but she kept a
And
part of
she
the
kept a
thread.
strand of it, yes. And now it's been how she's exerted some control over him. She's kept tabs on him, and now it's going to be the center of this bargain. Agents Hare and Wolf show up. She uses a thread to cast a spell of confusion on them as they're running away. Again,
That's
not
cool.
really drawn at all. Like,
Holguin again, just being like, "Yeah, this is what's happening." Sure.
yeah.
A tangle path charm. The slightest glimpse, and they're hopelessly confused. By the time they regain their wits, I will be long gone.
I think
Sure.
that's a cantrip. I think that's maybe
I mean,
a first level spell at most.
it works more or
Yeah,
less.
it's fine. She also says that the link between her and Spawn will be severed in 9 days. So that's why she's been locked up for those 9 days, trying to do this extended ritual. Now it's time. The moon is at its apogee, or AKA, and the fly is like, look, this is a dangerous game, but you made a good bargain. And so she draws some blood with this ritual dagger. She draws symbols on her arms, and then she takes Spawn's thread. The art here is fine. I
Yeah.
really like the script here again, where she's talking about weaving a tapestry, turning the thread into a cloak as she's pulling it, like she's pulling the thread longer and longer from
Yeah,
Elsie,
she's like
making
doubling
more
it in
real.
on itself and pulling it again and doubling it in on itself, and it's becoming this web at first, and then we start to see that this loom that she's been weaving is starting to become Spawn's cape. It's cool. Yeah, I think it's really effective. I think that Holguin's narration is probably this is one of the better issues for his narration that we've ever seen. It's a little it's a good vibe overall that he's explaining kind of what's going on. I don't always
Yeah.
love such a like caption heavy issue, but
It feels more necessary with some of the art, and at
yeah,
least the captions have been nice to
yeah,
read,
they've been
in my
compelling.
opinion.
Um,
The next two pages are a double page spread that have no captions at all, where in the top left we see Nyx with the symbiote spreading over her, and Al in his hospital bed in the bottom right corner, kind of having a seizure or something. And in between, we see these cuts back and forth of the symbiote leaving Al and enveloping Nyx.
it's a cool page. I don't love the panel layout because I'm not sure which way to read it necessarily.
I think that's maybe sort of the point a
Yeah,
little
I
bit, is that
guess.
it's all this like chaos happening at once. It was fine. We see Nyx's eye transform into Spawn's eye in a close up shot. Wolf and Hare come back into the room now, 2 weeks later from the last time we saw them, or 9 days from the last time we saw them. The timeline in this is so jumbled.
It's
It's
yeah,
9 days
it's
from the last time we saw them, only to see Al basically flatlining.
yeah.
Now, I believe, is where we start getting into the the other art team after this page. The
Yeah.
fly opens a portal. We see that Nyx now has like kind of Spawn's face, but long blonde hair. And the fly opens this portal on the wall with these crazy symbols around it.
And says, "Hey, let's go. Follow."
And they go on into hell. At the same time, A voice, presumably from the symbiote, says, "You're a traitor and a fool. He will never forgive such betrayal. Sooner or later, you'll have to face him and then he'll kill you." And she says, "I know." But we get this really cool shot of Nyx basically as like Lady
She
Spawn or
Spawn,
She
yeah.
Spawn. Yeah.
And then she looks out into the distance of hell and she says, "So where do I go now?"
And the bee or
The bee.
the bee, the fly is like, that wasn't part of the bargain. So she starts wandering through hell. She gets the voice of the presumably the K7 Letha again,
Yeah.
telling her, "This is hell. Are you not frightened?" And she says, "I didn't say that." Oh my gosh,
And this
that
is
thing.
the last time that the K7 Lethal will be lettered correctly.
Yes, or
Right.
something else will be happening. And I
We'll get
think
into it.
we'll get into it, and I think it will actually be somewhat vaguely relevant to a conversation we were having in previous episodes.
Fair.
So yeah, that's the end of the issue. She is venturing down the like eternal spiral staircase into hell, and she is, of course, afraid. So Pierce, hit me with the credits for Spawn 140.
All right, great. Todd McFarlane Image Comics present Hellbound Part 2. All of the credits are the same, except pencils and inks are solely Nat Jones, colors are solely J Photos, and this is dedicated to Lucky Yeh, YEH, which is Lucky Yeh International Ltd. is the distributor for McFarlane Toys Series 32. That's it. It's not a
Well, there
person.
you go. We're on series 32 by this now.
There's some really cool figures. These are the sort of more like animated looking figures.
Right.
They look sick, honestly. Raven Spawn looks really fucking cool.
Oh, I love Raven
I
Spawn.
know,
I
me
miss
too.
Raven Spawn.
And Tremor looks really fucking sick. I kind of want to track these down. These are really cool. Anyway, we open this episode. Gee, I do it every time. We open this issue with a little bit of a different vibe than we've been getting because we're getting the full Nat Jones J Photos experience, and I am fully here for it. Really like this art style.
Yes.
Really heavy, deep blacks. I
Very textured
I
colors.
love the design of Nick's Spawn. Essentially,
Yeah, she got one big glove. She got the big scythe hook. And she's got the Malbolgia M on her chest, but she's got this like kind of like tattered like rags in
like almost
between
like
or
a
something.
wrap, sort of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
almost like mummy.
it's
Mummy
cool.
wraps.
It's cool, and we're getting a narration that we have not totally seen before. It does kind of look like the Fly's lettering from the last issue, but built out a little bit more. It's got a thicker kind of line around it, and it says, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter." And she's yelling at it. She's like, "Oh, shut up! Get out of my head." It says, "Is this truly what you wanted? Is this what
Wait a
you
minute.
expected? The kingdoms of hell splayed open before you like a rotted corpse." And she looks out, and it is just desolation.
Okay, here's something that's interesting.
Sure.
Okay, just noticed about the lettering. Now, this is what something Pierce and I were talking about before. Lettering becomes a little inconsistent here because this is sort of how the Fly's lettering looks, a little different.
Yeah.
This is like there's a drop shadow on the bubbles, where so they're actually doubled.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just an affectation that is like a visual just to make it stand out,
It does feel
or
a little
if
bit like Orzakowski trying to vibe more with the art.
yeah, it's possible it's that. I also think this is the Fly talking to her with the voice of the symbiote.
Not the K7 Letha.
Right, and because it's also manipulating events,
Right.
which the K7 Letha doesn't usually do. It doesn't usually have, at least for Spawn, that kind of intelligence. So
True.
I think okay, much how we were debating how much of Spawn chasing Thea was Mammon's trickery. Now I'm wondering how much of the K7 Letha's like narration or
the or the voice of Al, as it were,
Right.
that she seems to think that it is maybe just the fly, because the fly does disappear. We didn't mention that when the fly says it's not going to help, it does disappear. It just kind of like poofs out of existence.
Yeah.
Um, so she decides to start walking, and she's starting to regret a little bit of what's going on, and she's taking in what hell is. She's saying like every inch of it screams in agony. I really like Orzakowski's lettering for her captions as well. I think it's really cool. I like the big first letter. It kind of signifies her transformation a little bit. And again, her design's just so striking. The
It's so
spawn mask
simple.
is just perfect. So
It is. Well, they could have done so much to make it so much more complicated, but she looks sleek and streamlined in a way that like helps that she doesn't have the cape, I guess.
yeah.
But she doesn't have that many chains around her. They're kind of like down her arm and like around the scythe
And also
more
the
than
hair
like
though kind of feels like a throwback to Malbolgia, which
yes,
is
it
cool.
absolutely does. But this overall, the whole art style is she's just like exploring through hell and like realizing how much worse it is than she could have ever possibly imagined as a mortal who hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the green bubbles that are Al slash the fly
whatever voice is talking to her.
is just kind of making fun of her and sort of chiding her for the decision that she made.
Yeah,
She
and he
says,
says you were too rash in
yeah.
coming to hell.
And she's like, oh, seriously, you're not helping. I also like the voice of like, oh, she's like a 20-year-old girl. It's just different than Al. And
That's something that I really like about this arc. We
yeah.
were sort of, noting this to each other in our kind of general roundup before the podcast that there's something new
Yeah.
in this. Like, okay, we've had Journey Through Hell 4, 5, 6 times maybe through the nearly 150 issues at this point. Now we have something a little different with it though,
Yeah.
which is we don't have Al as the sort of like human being. We don't have Al as the Dante being guided by Virgil. We have a totally different kind of like person experiencing this for the first time with a totally different relationship to the being or entity that's guiding her through this.
And
And
even a
so
different relationship to the supernatural. Al was always so resistant to everything. Nyx, as a
a witch.
a representative of the green world and a witch and somebody who does believe in all of this stuff, otherwise she wouldn't have done the ritual in the first place, is taking it in a different way and processing it in a different way. We've mentioned this a few times at this point already. Nyx will become the queen of hell 200 issues down the line, but it's like,
But it's set up so
yeah,
cleanly here, and we'll get
yeah,
into that. As she's wandering through hell, the fly warns her, "You're too much given to reverie," as she's sort of looking at the scenery. He says, "You need to stay focused and keep your wits about you." And as that's happening, this huge monster
super cool.
bursts out of the ground. Love this giant, sort of like Lovecraftian tentacle monster here.
Rules.
She has this long sort of fight with it where she's very quickly learning to use the symbiote. Like she's very quickly learning to use its chains and the scythe like hook that she has and how to fight this thing in a way that Al kind of couldn't grasp really for a long time outside of just lashing out with instinct. And I think it's as you said, she's prepared for this in a way that Al never could have been. She knows what she's getting on some level, and she's also, like you said, open to the occult already.
Yeah, I do think that this fight, as much as I do like it, I do think that this fight's not super compelling in the sense that I did it now too. In the sense that Nat Jones gives us some cool panels. I don't think that, and we hear from the monster itself who's telling her to give in, and then we just kind of it like gets settled. Like it just kind of
It does a one battle after another, and it sets the whole confrontation up, and then cuts to the aftermath. A valid storytelling tactic sometimes, but it does feel like there's maybe a missing step somewhere in. It could have been solved with a slightly different caption, you
Right.
know?
Because what she ends up doing is not defeating the monster. She ends up wrangling it
Yeah, she
to,
gives it the Shai Hulud treatment, and she
yeah,
rides the sandworm.
exactly. And yeah, I think one more caption of her being like, yeah, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to get eaten either, you know?
Anything,
Anything
just
like that.
the art though, so good.
I think it's cool.
I love it. And
It's
we're in
also
now the
just
early
this,
2000s. We're a couple years after the start of My Chemical Romance.
right.
And this style of art, no knock on Medina at all. His art style is very much the kind that was popular in that transitional phase from the 90s style, like bombastic art, to the more kind of conceptual art that became popular through like the early 2000s through like the mid 2015, you know.
Also, at this point, Nat Jones has already done Spawn Dark Ages with Steve Niles a few years before this. So he's a pretty known commodity to McFarlane Productions and the sort of Spawniverse. Not to us because we haven't covered it. If you want us to cover it, you have to let us know. We won't do it otherwise. Uh, I also like have this being the first time that I'm really running into his art in the context of Spawn. As soon as I saw that monster, I was like, "What Nat Jones magic cards are there?" Because
Right.
this shit rules, and there are none,
Well, that's a
which is a
shame.
bummer,
It seems like he'd do some good ones.
right?
This next sequence, she's wandering through hell, just wondering how long it's been. I love the way they render hell. They keep some of that sickly brown, green, sort of like ooze mud palette, but they use it in such an effective way with the fact that the pages are like very black
Yeah,
with detail, heavy ink detail that makes the color and the foreground and the background all separate. It's done with so much care that it really works. And the palette is also just a little nicer, just tweaked just enough to be a little more eerie.
we've complained about that like shit brown piss yellow, and it's here kind of, but it
It's almost a more
works.
Silent Hill kind of vibe in a
I
way.
think it's the blues also
Yes.
offsetting it and giving the page balance in a way that you're not just getting like hit over the head with this like yellow
The
color. This,
sometimes what it is, okay, I mentioned conceptual kind of art, and these are kind of conceptual colors, by which I mean they're not necessarily trying to do a full realistic render.
yeah,
um and it works so much better with that kind of background to me, because the detail is already more in the line art in terms of like the legibility. You're not counting on the color to separate everything as much,
mm.
so having the more kind of abstract sky in the background works a little better. That's my opinion anyway. I
Shout out
love
to
this
J
page.
Photos.
Oh, absolutely, the colors are great. I love this page where she comes upon the tree with lanterns hanging from
Very
it.
cool.
I love the twisted, gnarled tree. I love the roots hanging down.
Love the bleeding up colors.
And she comes up and she goes, "Oh, God has saved me. Those are people." And she realizes that every lantern has a soul burning inside. They start begging her for help, begging her for release. And the fly is kind of chiding her, or the voice, rather,
Yeah.
symbiote, fly, both, whatever it may be, is chiding her and saying like, it's folly enough to come here to rescue the one soul. You shouldn't even concern yourself with these people. They're not worth a thing.
And we get a classic sad Spawn Eyes
Yeah,
look from Nat Jones,
very
which is
good.
great, in a couple panels, which is really good. I love how expressive that mask can be and those eyes can be, and
Yeah,
I think it's such an
absolutely.
essential part. And I love that it comes through even with a different character under the cowl. Uh, and she
Yes,
says she
and
thinks she's going to be sick. Like she's very affected by this.
she says, "I feel so evil."
Yeah, I love it.
So next she comes upon Redeemer.
It's just
I
been hanging out. I love this page.
fucking love this page. This is a very Mignola-esque page to me, almost.
Yeah,
Most the inks themselves are also like very textured in
love
a
the
way that
splatters.
only. And if you look at like, okay, the line work on Redeemer here, it's scraggly and choppy and textured in a way that only the person who did the pencils and has the intent could do with this, or someone who had their own free intent. In this case, we know it's Nat Jones who inked his own work.
Yeah.
So good. I love it. And
That's
I
like a
love
page that just looking at it, I'm like, oh, I'd buy that in a second. That's that. I
just a
want that hanging
panel
on
of
the wall.
Redeemer standing on the
So
fucking
sick.
chimney, and then the close up of him where he says, "No, it can't be." The next page also so good. All these ruins look
Really cool.
fucking great. I am loving this art. And I mean, look, I said it before, nothing against Medina. He is of his time in terms of his style. This style feels so much closer to the contemporary kind of feel
Mm.
that was burgeoning at this
It
time.
feels like a
That
level up for this book in a way that we haven't really seen in
I
a
was gonna
minute.
say it makes me long for some of the visuals of like the best parts of Hellspawn.
I was just going to bring
Um,
that up too. I think
and
that as much as Capullo really has set the high mark for what Spawn can be. And what's so interesting actually on these issues is Capullo's covers, because they start to have that much more like Ariel Olivetti uh doing Frank Frazetta type of like
right,
painted kind of, where you're like, whoa, this is Capullo with a totally different treatment. I think the big difference between somebody like Capullo and somebody like Angel Medina, and again, no shade to Angel Medina, but Capullo is an absolute master, whose style I think can conform to many different other styles. I think that he's kind of constantly evolving, and his line work is so strong that a really skilled digital colorist can do really cool things. That kind of like 3D rendered style that you see a
hmm
lot with. I say Olivetti as kind of the main one. If you think about his like
of that time
his
for sure.
Cable
Yeah.
series that is only a couple
hmm
years later, he's really kind
He
of,
was doing Avengers covers around this time.
yeah,
Um, so I love this splash page of Redeemer coming up. Nyx is walking through the remains of what appears to be the false like city in hell that Cagliostro tricked Spawn into making, and
yeah.
then which he then abandoned. Have it reiterated that Cagliostro has locked himself away in a tower where he is just building upward and upward and upward. Some say towards heaven, trying to get to heaven. Some say trying to protect himself. Meanwhile, Redeemer is tries to
So sick.
ambush Nyx. Love this panel. The sword flaring down, the colors, the hand, it all works so well together. One thing I also like, less panels on the page, and the anatomy is a little less jumbled in some places. Sometimes it looks like Medina is just drawing like a pile of muscles.
Yeah, I'll say too that Nat Jones just leaning into like, I can just do relatively simple paneling in general. Here's
Mm-hmm.
just 6 panels. Yeah, maybe they're like a little skewed, cut a corner off.
But they're easy to read and they look interesting and
Yeah.
they have the right vibe. Um, so Redeemer tries to strike, and I love the little panel sequence of her chains kind of doing the
Grabbing the
like
sword out of the
dark
air.
side Omega beam, kind of like angled,
So
like
cool.
and grabbing the sword, and she takes it in, and or she takes it into her hands. She takes a hold of it. Excuse me, like Google trying to translate French or something. She takes a hold of it, and Redeemer realizes she's not Al.
Yeah.
I fucking love this panel of them at the top of the next page where she's saying, "So let me guess, you don't belong here either." And he says, "No, well, perhaps I do." I love how ragged his armor has gotten, how like his wings. God, I just love this version of Redeemer.
There's a What's really tough with Redeemer's helmet is that he can't show any emotion. There's no acting coming from him. So the Nat Jones is really good about using his body language. That first panel sets you up for his like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
And I even really like the close-ups that he does, because even though you can't see his eyes, you can feel what that, like, you're a smart enough comic book reader that you know what what that close up means. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so she says, "You don't belong here." He goes, "Well, no, but maybe I do. I killed my dad. That was a long time ago, but that was before I was reborn into the light." And the voice says, "He's not one of the damned. In fact, he bears the mark of heaven, so you may trust him." And she
This
says,
looks like a lot to me. Are you familiar? Sorry to interrupt. I'm still on
"Yeah,
the art for a second. Are you familiar with oh god, I just opened it up. Fuck, what's his name? Kankor
oh yeah,
by
yeah, 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 definitely, definitely." The other guy I would say it's like a little bit close to, and I kind of wish he would do a Spawn book is Daniel Warren Johnson.
Yeah, oh god, that would be sick. You can see that this guy is coming from a lot of the same sort of roots as those artists. Kankor by Matthew Allison, by the way.
Yeah,
Super weird, fucking cool,
very cool,
trippy
very
fucking
cool.
comic with kick ass art, just like this. I think also it's just anytime we get a change of pace to something that isn't trying to hit that, say, Spawn House style,
Yeah.
it's super interesting.
We also
But yeah,
haven't called out the panel borders. The backgrounds of the pages are like this like sickly blue green.
yeah, it's the same sky effect
Yeah.
behind the it just works great. The way the panels are nested looks really nice. Simpler panels, less panels on a page, better double page spreads than the last couple issues. She says, "Okay, tell me your story," to Redeemer.
Nat Jones had to
Nick
sneak
asks him.
one official Spawn in there because if you're
Yeah,
going to draw Spawn, you better be getting one official Spawn somehow.
yes,
And Redeemer recounts what happened. And he says, "I was here with him during the last great upheaval. I fought on his side against the armies of hell, and then he renounced his throne and left me behind." As we see him remembering this and recounting this, we see Spawn kind of in the shadows in the background, huge cape, all drenched
yeah.
in shadow. And
Very Dracula Spawn. I
yeah.
love it.
And he says, "Because I wear heaven's livery, I am free to travel where I will, and none may harm me, but I'm still in hell. The screams alone are enough to drive you mad, and things get worse by the day." We see these creepy demon or soul, these damned souls in the background with a nice little
These
change up in
damn
the colors.
souls.
And it says, "The new king has given control to the major demons while he shuts himself away building his tower. He hasn't stepped foot in his kingdom since he stole the throne. Some say he is building skyward till he can breach the walls of heaven. Others say he guards himself against revenge." And we see the big tower kind of in the background as, again, Redeemer just looking so friggin' cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
So he offers to help her find Thea if she agrees to take him out of hell when she leaves.
right.
She hesitates because that's her plan to take Thea, and she only has passage for two. But the fly tells her, lie to him, which is why I think it's not just the symbiote.
Yeah.
Because also, the symbiote, if it was
Symbiote
in
doesn't
contact with
care.
her, would also have a lot more agency in hell.
Very
We
true.
know that it has a lot more power in hell.
If it was
So,
Al, though, and if it was Al, I think it has to be the fly because even if it was Al, Al would be like, "I don't really give a shit about your friend." Although he did try to save her, so like maybe he feels guilt.
yeah.
I guess maybe he feels guilty about that, and so he's like,
Or it's some, I think the implication is that it's some residual part of his like
"Yeah."
subconscious. Either way, I think it's the fly manipulating her through that.
One thing to call out about the lettering for Redeemer is he gets these like doubled balloons.
Yes.
It gives such a cool voice. I imagine him like booming a little bit, like a
There are like
booming,
three tails there
yeah, like a
that are
booming
nested,
angelic voice.
or like a trinity kind of voice, like
Yeah,
three
very
voices.
cool.
Yeah. Um
So she
he
gives
agrees. She gives her word. She drops the sword, and I love, again, love
another
this last
great
page
fucking page.
of her standing. There's just a kick-ass fucking Nyx she spawn, kick-ass Redeemer in the background. Another thing I love about this, guess what this is?
What?
This is an inversion of the Spawn Angela dynamic,
Oh yeah.
where she is sort of the more brash, like kind of
I don't
like,
know anything, and he's the
or
one
not.
just being like, "Okay, here's how you do it. Here's what's going on."
Well, more like she is. He is sort of lost in hell in terms of like he needs help.
Oh,
and
okay.
she's the one helping him. And so he's the angelic being that needs help, and she's the sort of demonic being that is on the other side. Like it's kind of a they're trading each other. Obviously, oh my god, I'm bad at talking tonight. They have a bargain where each one of them's getting something out of it, but it really reminds me very strongly of a like riff on that Spawn Angela dynamic, which I love.
And which we've been saying that we've been missing, right?
Yeah.
We've definitely been missing Angela since she left the book and the company and Todd McFarlane's ownership, uh,
And that's the end of the issue.
which will lead us
So,
to Spawn number 141, Hellbound Part 3. All the same credits as the last issue, so I'm not going to read them again. And we open with what
was the
else?
dedication? I have to know the dedication.
There's none.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, so this whole opening sequence is Redeemer soaring over hell. And it starts out with him saying, "When I was a boy, I dreamt of flying." And he's explaining how now, though, looking down on hell, it just gets worse and worse. And seeing it from above, you can only just see more and more of it. And even though he's basically safe from harm here, he's flying around in this psychological nightmare where the souls of the eternal tortured damned are crying out for mercy and suffering endless, worse and more horrific punishments. He's soaring through hell, trying to find Thea, not finding her, but he does see uh Cog,
A
just
glimpse
a
of
glimpse of Cog
Cagliostro.
peering out the window of his
I
tower.
love this page. It's a slow
It's
zoom in on the tower after we've gotten all these panels of Redeemer flying, so we definitely feel like it's a first person kind of
yeah,
situation, and we get these like small this small glimpse of Cagliostro and his mustache and kind of his hat and
I
his
like the
very
narration too.
very small eye. Oh, I love it. I love it. A
The
dis
black tower is silhouetted against the clouds, a colossal javelin aimed at heaven, a constant reminder to all who dwell here we are being watched and we are being judged. And Cog looked fucking downright like dastardly.
the tiny little white,
Like his one little sparkling
yeah,
pupil.
is
Fucking ooh,
so cool.
creepy. So Redeemer returns to Nyx, and he's trying to say like, well, hell is changing even in this moment. So the anatomy of hell that I know, the geography of hell that I know, it could be different. I do have a general idea of where things could be, and it just gets the worse the deeper we go. And he asks, was she a murderer, a pedophile? And she says, nothing like that, just a sad lost soul. And he says, that's good. That means we don't have to go very far in. So Nyx decides to use some of her magic, and she pierces her sort of palm with her like scythe hook weapon and calls out to Thea through a blood oath they swore as young witches together. And she finds Thea in her mind's eye, but not the directions to get there. However, they reach this place called the Vale of Despair. And this is a place where those who, as we said, who have died by suicide are bound, because in this stupid cosmology that is, it's
Yeah,
the unending
suicide is evil somehow, which
morality
is
of
it's fine.
I don't, yeah.
We don't ascribe to this, but the book does. So
Look, I don't think suicide is a good thing. I'm going to come out with a brave stance and say that if you are feeling any thoughts of self-harm whatsoever, reach out to anyone in your life and
please,
tell them specifically what
please,
you're going through. Anybody. But because you're worth it. You absolutely are. I've been through it myself. I have had to deal with it seriously in my life. It is worth it. I don't advocate it at all. It's not a solution to a problem. It's also not a moral failing to have those feelings.
yeah,
And it's also not something we should punish the memory of people for, which is really what the concept of heaven or hell is. It is a categorization of how we as the living remember people. We think of them as damned to hell, sent to heaven, whatever version of afterlife there is always some classification, and it's a measurement of morality in life that I don't think should always apply in the way that some religious texts and ideas,
Yeah.
that are out there.
One thing that I do like though is that Nyx does call it out in a similar way. Is that, she says like, Redeemer says this is the Vale of Despair. It's a place given over to profligates and suicides, to those who so lost in their own darkness they can never hope to find their way free. She must have been a troubled girl, your friend. And Nyx says she was. I wish I could have helped her more when she was alive. Maybe then it wouldn't have come to all this. I mean, she was just a kid, for Christ's sake. She doesn't deserve this. No one does. And God is a bastard to just let a place like this exist. And like,
God is a bastard to just let a place like this exist is a fucking great record
I mean,
by Fugazi. Also, I love the next quote where she says, "It's just seeing all this makes my blood boil. It's so unjust." And I love what Redeemer says. He says, "No, it's all right. Let your anger burn."
I want these two hanging out all the time. They're great.
Rage is a fine antidote to despair.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
That is a mantra we can accept right now.
There's your Fugazi lyric.
Exactly. And I want to point out something too about expressing rage constructively and unconstructively. I'm just going to make this point. There is a very masculine, toxic masculine sense that the only emotion is anger. The only valid emotion is anger and rage, and that embracing that is the only way that real men or whatever quote unquote bullshit thing are allowed to express themselves. I think that's absolutely false, but I also think that anger is a true and real part of the human experience and an important part of human emotion. And so I like that it says, don't despair, get angry at this injustice.
Yeah.
And I just like that Redeemer's like, yeah, it is actually kind of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, get angry and do something, because I do think that no matter how angry you get, you can still succumb to despair despite being angry. It's about making some action towards
yes.
Yeah.
So while they're walking, she hears a voice calling to her by her real name, Carrie. And wait a minute, is her name Carrie Ann? Is that what it was?
Her name is oh geez, hold on. Is it Carrie Anderson?
I'm looking it up because it's Carrie Andrews.
Carrie Andrews.
Yeah. Also known as Carrie Ann.
Oh.
And that just made me think of Carrie Ann Moss, who was, of course, in The Matrix with which Todd McFarlane was making toys of.
Probably a reference.
Maybe. Either way, just a fun little thing. So trying
is
to
her
not
name
make this
Carrie Ann Andrews?
It doesn't say. I don't think so. I think it just says that she goes by Carrie Andrews or Carrie Ann.
Okay. All right. Well,
so
anyway,
Carrie Ann could be a nickname for Carrie Andrews. Either way, it's not Thea that's calling out to her. It is the spirit of her long lost father. We learned that he abandoned her family when she was young. And he's trying to apologize to her, saying, "You've come to rescue me." And she's dumbfounded. How I think a lot of people would react as adults facing their parent who traumatized
facing
them.
Unresolved trauma, right? A trauma that you can never face, and now you get to face it. And as she's doing this, something happens, and we get a close. I like also that her eyes have changed from they're not
they're
Spawn's
sort of like
green,
cat-like.
but they're also like yellow. They take on that yellow in hell.
Yeah, they're like I said, they're like cat's eyes.
Yeah.
And they have like little sparkles. I love it.
And then we get another fucking kick ass double page spread with, again, another thing that made me think, oh, got to do a magic card. There are bones flying. There's so many bones flying.
So cool.
It's
rules
sick.
So hard. As this gigantic demon bursts out of the ground, which is just covered in this field of bones, and grabs her and says, "Hellspawn, you were banished from this place." Her dad's soul is like, "Oh God, no. I don't think he can hear you, bud." Yeah. Something I want to point out about this splash page. Okay. The action is centered, right?
Oh no.
However, The main parts of the figures are easily visible on either side of the cut. The bulk of the demon and his face are on the left side of the page. The bulk of she spawn and
In the
the
hand.
hand that's holding her are filling up that right page. The important action and detail of the double page spread is not
It's
lost
not
in
in the
the
fold,
fold.
yeah.
And again, I know that you can do it. It's a valid choice, and they weren't thinking how's it going to look in an omnibus, but it doesn't look great in a regular 22-page comic either when you have the
Agreed.
staple going up the middle and it's misaligned. So I just wanted to point that out as another art benefit. As she is being gripped, who should jump in but Redeemer, who hacks off the demon's head. Love this whole sequence. I
Super
love the
cool.
panel where like his teeth and tongue are kind of
We're
forming a
inside his
spiral.
mouth.
So
Yeah.
good. At the same time, her dad is now begging her to set her free. However,
I'm noticing also that Nat Jones loves a hand in the foreground.
it's a classic Spawn
It
move.
really is, but
Nate Jones.
leans into it.
Nat Jones. My God, why do we keep doing that? We agreed it was Nat.
Nat
Nat
Jones
Jones doing a
definitely
great
using
hand
that.
job.
Doing a great hand job.
Great
One
hand
of the
stuff
best hand jobs.
that I've seen in this comic. But it turns out that's not her daddy at all. It's a creepy little girl. And I think, is this the girl that was living in
in the 7.5 Ghosts arc? It does look
Yes,
just like her.
because they were sent to hell.
Right. And she says
There was
half
also the
of,
little girl in the first time we went to hell.
yeah. I think it might be generic creepy little girl.
She got maggots pouring out of her eyes.
Yeah.
Fucking rules. This is okay. This specifically, this drawing of this little girl reminds me a lot of the artist of what is it, Ice Cream Man
Oh yeah.
and Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum. Yeah, Martin Morazzo and Chris O'Halloran are the art team on that. Martin Morazzo's inks, and of course, very similar to Frank Quietly, the Kryptonite Spectrum art on that.
Art by
But
Martin Morazzo. You're right. Okay. Colors
yes,
by Chris O'Halloran. Lettering by good old Neon.
yeah,
Also a little Fraser Irving in there too.
yeah, a little bit.
I love Fraser Irving. What's Fraser Irving up to?
Probably making art, I hope.
I hope so too.
Yeah, so the little clown, she's not a clown, sorry. The little girl ghost with the maggot eyes, fucking Slipknot record, I guess, wanders off laughing, and Nyx is finally overwhelmed. She's like, this is too much.
Yeah.
I just can't. And the voice says, get over it. This isn't about you. Suck it up. Find the strength. Find the courage. Get your ass moving. And Redeemer's like, please, you gave me your word. I need your help. So she gets up and they start moving deeper into the veil of despair.
Yeah.
She's asking Redeemer, how do you keep from going mad? And he's like, that's the fun part. I fucking don't.
I already did. This place is terrible.
Yeah, I've been tortured. I'm not in pain. I don't get I don't get tortured like the other demons do, but it's still psychological torture.
But he says that she gave him hope. The fact that somebody kind of came back for him, even if it wasn't for him, has given him hope because he might get to leave. And I think it's fun that we have reached the very depths of despair.
Yes.
I think that's just like a fun play on words and location.
Yeah, I like it too. So they find Thea. They finally find her cell. And Thea's like, please don't hurt me. And Nyx is like, no, wait, it's me, Carrie Andrews, We were friends growing up. And she's like, how could you come here? She says, I came to set you free. And this is when Thea drops the devastating bomb that she can't come back to life. She doesn't have a body. Her body is bones and
it's been years at this point. What's she gonna come back to?
And Nyx kind of has this realization of, oh my God, I can't actually save my friend. And Thea instead begs for her to fully extinguish her soul. It's the only way she can find peace is to just fully succumb to the void.
Yeah, I don't want to be, I can't be in heaven and I'm already in hell, so I'd rather not exist. And it's a pretty, it's an intense moment. I like this panel of them hugging.
She's crying these green tears
Yeah.
of like necroplasm, and it might also just be the mood, but it seems to me very hellish tears. And she's also very ghastly. Like she's got a weird pallor. Her eyes are green. Um, she says, please, this is all I ask. This is all I wish for with every beat of my heart. And Redeemer's like, she's right. It's the only way. He hands his sword to Nyx and walks out.
Such a cool panel.
And she says, are you sure you want this? And Thea says, don't ask me again. That panel of Thea saying, don't ask me again, the visual, the despair in it is so palpable and visual because of the way it's inked, the way the shadows are laid out, the way the color palette is so simple but so effective.
She sinks
Just
into the background in a way and is
exactly.
sort of like overtaken even by the figure of Nyx here. She's so small,
Yeah.
and you,
He's shrinking into despair,
yeah,
literally.
yeah,
And
it's great.
so she says, Nyx brings up this beautiful memory from their childhood. And the summer we went to camp, snuck out at night to catch firebugs, and drank Dr. Pepper till we were sick. Honestly, sounds fucking lit. Uh, then we lay down in the tall grass watching the sky turn overhead, and we wondered how life could hold so much beauty and magic in one little moment. I want you to hold on to that. Put your arms around it like it's the only true thing in the world. Can you see it? And Thea says yes. And she says, that's good. And we get this panel of them holding hands. And then we get the silhouette. We get the tip of the sword in the corner
And
of the
like a
panel
splatter of
and the
blood.
silhouette of what we're seeing. And then just the blue smoke rising of Thea dissipating. So beautifully effective, this whole scene. And I found myself thanking Malbolgia that it was Nat Jones drawing this
Yeah.
and not Medina, because Medina would have done a fine job,
But this is
but it would have been
moodier and has
so
like
much more
and
caricatured.
depth.
Yes, it fits the mood so much more. And so she says, I think I just damned myself. And Redeemer says it was an act of mercy. Then the fly shows up and he has those same green bubbles. He
They're a little
reappears.
different.
They are slightly
That's
different.
why,
They don't have the drop
yeah,
shadow.
they're not as thick.
So yeah, who could be? And he says, this is hell. There is no mercy here. You have fulfilled your task. You must go now. And she says, don't forget our bargain. There was passage for me and one other of my choosing. And the fly says, very well. And uh Redeemer says, so beautiful. I am forever in your debt. I would give my life to protect you. And she says, I might just have to take you up on that. And then they leave, and the fly is left floating there, thinking, a fine bargain, a very fine bargain indeed. We're left at a little note. Thanks, Nat and Jay. And I like that.
Very fun. Yeah, it definitely feels like they swung in to save the day a little bit, and they just got to be
Oh,
like,
God.
"Oh, cool that we got to do the main Spawn title for like a
My
minute."
favorite arc in so many issues.
You
The
know,
issues we've been reading haven't been terrible.
yeah, but
They've
this
been
was,
mid by some standards, by standards of what else we've read.
yeah. Not to get
But
into
this,
final thoughts too early, I guess, but I can
I
kind of,
mean, we can do it.
I can kind of get
I'm,
into them. Like,
do we have back matter?
we do not, for these. I
Well, then
don't,
let's just get
because
into the
these
final
issues cost
thoughts.
like $20 each, and
Yeah.
it's getting tough. Listen, Spawn fans out there, if you have issues after this, let me know. I'll buy them from you. I don't care what condition they're in. I just want the back matter. Or if you have them and can scan them and send them, that would be amazing. Uh, this, I,
If you scan the back matter, by the way, we're not advocating you
yeah,
scan
no. Don't scan the
the whole
issues,
comic.
and you should pay for things. And listen, we promote the
But we
compendiums.
can't pay for the back matter,
Right.
from Todd or
Right.
Image.
So,
So Boy,
Uh,
wouldn't that be a cursed fucking collection? Just all the letters. I think they did that. I
there
think
is
Marvel
a
did that.
Stanley's soapbox collection that I
Yeah,
own.
great.
That is actually it's kind of fun.
No, it's probably good. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's kind
probably
of
one of the
fun.
only things he actually wrote.
If you want to learn how
Anyway,
to sell comic books
yeah.
to
So
nerds.
let's go ahead and get into final thoughts. Why not? Let's get into it. Go ahead and get
When I
into it.
started this arc, I was like, "Oh boy, art's all over the place, pacing's all over the place." These are the limitations of Marvel style when you have a team that's under a deadline. And
Right.
I'm happy that they did a little bit of transition into like, "Oh shit, we're going to need some help." Maybe the plan was always to have Nat Jones do the next two issues and the kind of the back half of this arc, but uh it helps the transition into the hell world that we end up in. Love following up on Redeemer. Love getting more depth to Nyx. Love having a character who's not Al reckoning with what the supernatural means in this world. One of the things that
Yes.
we've talked about a few
And also in a
times,
way that's not a repeat of Al.
right? One of the things that we've talked about with this book in general is that sometimes one of its limitations is that there aren't really enough characters that interact with the stuff that Al interacts with. So we don't get
Right.
new perspectives. We get Cagliostro telling us that everything that Al thinks is wrong. We get Violator, who has his own thing that he wants to do, but he doesn't interact with Hell. He's just a Hell guy. So he is like, cool, Hell, whatever. That's where I'm from. Same thing with Malbolgia. Same thing with many of the demons. Yeah, we got Savage Dragon there one time randomly, but
Right.
that didn't really tell us anything. Wanda and Terry don't interact with that part of the story. So it becomes a little bit one note in terms of like what we're kind of being shown. And through Holguin's time with the book, I mean, at this point, Brian Holguin has written half of Spawn
Yeah.
and has definitely taken strides to stretch the mythos out as much as he can and introduce the green world
Just
and
to both expand it and streamline the concepts that were already there.
exactly and like make things kind of like just line up a little bit. Nyx is such a potentially interesting character, and it feels like she's finally getting a little bit more agency in this arc to not just be beholden to whatever Spawn happens to be doing because he's just in a coma. And at the same time, we still get Spawn in a way. And so it's kind of the best way to do a side story, right? We know Al has to come back, not for very long at this point, but before he's replaced. But we also now are seeing a world where he could be off the table and we can still get a compelling story.
Yes,
And I
definitely.
think that's really, really interesting. Kudos to Nat Jones and Jay Photos. I think these are a couple, the 140 and 141 are two of the best looking issues in a while.
Oh, so good.
I mean, maybe they're two of the best looking issues since Capullo left the book.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
Again,
so.
no shade to Angel
Medina's had
Medina.
some high points. He has definitely had some points, some issues, some pages, some panels where we've been like, fuck, yes. And I think that the last few issues of his work, I think we are right that it has felt rushed. And I think we can pretty much assume that it probably was a little bit just by necessity.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Todd is generally committed to try and get books out every month,
Exactly.
however he has to do it. Um, excuse me. But because of that, especially, this arc became such a refreshing change of pace. We also get a dynamic that really works. We get the dynamic between Redeemer and Nyx that is really, again, it's that inversion of the Hell Heaven Angela Spawn kind of dynamic that has been needed. And it's almost something that, like, if you look at the comic, she's been trying to have that with Al, and Al's been resisting it,
Yeah.
and now she's found her place. It's also, I love Nyx's character arc here. Sometimes you don't want to be spoiled, but like when it's 300 issues down the road, or whatever 100, when it's hundreds of issues down the road, it feels like less of a spoiler to know that someday Nyx will be Queen of Hell, because we don't know how that's going to happen.
Right.
We don't know what that looks like. I think the setup here, it makes so much sense that they would make it her, given her experience with Hell that we've even seen now, where she was just walking through, horrified at the very injustice of its existence. And it's similar to Al, where Cog was trying to convince him you could make things better, and that is a seductive offer. So I don't know that that's how the story goes, but it seems to me that that's setting up that character arc for Nyx down the road. And I also kind of fucking love her as Hellspawn. I almost wish, I know that a different,
Jessica
we'll get Jim
Priest.
Downing, and we'll
Well,
also get
yeah,
Jessica Priest will be She Spawn.
right.
Jim Downing will take over as Spawn for Al Simmons. I almost wish it was just Nyx.
Yeah,
Like, after reading this, I kind of just like, you could easily see her as the lead.
she's fun.
And this is the best she's been written too.
Very, very true. Very, very true. This makes me excited to continue. We've had, I know one of our refrains over this post 100 era has been like, how are people not reading this? And then we've definitely had a few arcs where we're
The
like,
last
I
like
get
10
why
issues
people
have
are
been
not
like,
reading this.
yeah, okay.
But I think that if you care about Nyx's arc as a character, this is so essential. It is such a great reminder of why putting different art styles into this world is so important. I think it brings so much depth to
And it
who,
makes it so interesting.
yeah, because it does really flip your brain on like, this isn't just another fucking Youngblood reboot, right? We're not just getting some Todd McFarlane ripoff artist to just do their thing, which I'm not saying that Medina or Turner or Capullo are
Right.
that. What I'm saying is that like, when we think about this book and why we started this podcast, it was because it was a blind spot for us, because we were like, why the fuck would you read that book? And what we're learning is that like, it is actually,
A lot of reasons.
there's a lot of reasons to read it, but it is interestingly like a way that a lot of artists, both on the writing and art side, got to experiment and play and like find their voice and find their style in a way that would impact comics moving forward for years to come, like
Oh
to this
yeah.
present day. I mean, as we're recording this, Brian Michael Bendis is back on Avengers, baby.
Yeah, for 8 pages at least. Well, we've talked about it before, that Spawn is almost a document of the 90s in comics, and those first 100 issues, and in some ways, as we expand beyond, it will become a document of just kind of the history of comics culture for what it's been for most of our aware lives.
And our
uh
professional lives as well.
oh, absolutely. And I think that is so interesting, and I just love getting something a little new, something that isn't a different version of Al being like, well, what the fuck now is happening? And I
Yeah,
still don't get it. And again, I love that pairing between Nyx and Redeemer, and I hope we get more of it. So
me too.
yeah, I think final thoughts are, this is a pretty damn good arc. And it's maybe more groundbreaking in the long run, or maybe more key in the long run, as they say, than you might realize because of Nyx's future. You might realize in the moment. Um, but even still, it feels like it has some personal stakes, and it feels tied to Spawn and the saga. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like we have another character who has stakes within the world. Like
Yes,
Terry and Wanda don't feel like they have stakes in the world. Sam and Twitch, Sam doesn't really feel like he has stakes in the world. Twitch recently
off and on.
seems
Yeah,
like he has stakes, but then we move away from him so much that like it's not as related to what Spawn is going through necessarily.
right,
This feels like, much like when we used to have Angela, we almost have a little bit of a co-lead to the book,
right.
and Spawn had kind of been missing that. And
Yeah, absolutely. And Nyx has evolved so much as a character since the introduction that now I'm just like, she rules. Like,
she's cool.
this whole arc was great. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what this experience as a spawn means, because even the fly says, or that voice says, like, you've betrayed him.
Yeah.
He's never going to let you forget that. And he's never going to trust you again. And that is immediately setting two characters on a collision course that,
Hmm.
like, we only benefit from as
And
readers.
now Redeemer's back as well.
Right, exactly. And he still has a bone to pick with Hal. So
Exactly. Yeah.
this is where, like, a million comic book conventions that we've covered where people are like, what's going to happen? And they just go, wait and see. And I'm like, yeah, wait and see. I can't wait to see, I'm excited.
That's the thing, is that's what a story is. A story is waiting to see what happens next. And I do get frustrated sometimes when fans are like, they haven't even addressed this thing they brought up 3 pages ago. And it's like, maybe it's in the next page. Maybe it's in the next issue.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the point. Anyway, so,
Before we
I think,
go,
yes,
do you have anything to recommend?
I absolutely do. I have
Shoot.
a negative
Oh boy.
recommendation. A
One battle
negative
after another.
recommendation. No. Is if you're using any kind of generative AI, fucking stop. If you are using AI to write your grocery lists and your emails and to text your grandma, fucking stop. If you're using it to make memes of fucking whatever, like dumb bullshit, fucking stop. Fucking stop guzzling gallons of water. And if people you know are doing it, fucking tell them to stop. Do anything you can to try and just have less of it in your life. I understand very strongly that some people are basically required to use it at this point for their work and for their livelihoods, and we're being forced to choose between participating in the next end stage of capitalism or being abandoned by it. And I'm not saying you should make that choice. But I am saying, if you're just sitting there dicking around on your phone with Chat GPT, even if you're lonely, please stop. Get on Discord, anything. I guarantee you there is someone out there to talk to you that is not a dangerous weapon against reality and nature.
Hell yeah.
So just fucking stop. Stop with it all. It doesn't deserve rights.
Herbie is not an AI, he's a person.
He doesn't get a funeral.
Anyway, my recommendation, it's kind of two recommendations. It's a positive one. One is there's a really great video essay by a YouTuber named Matt with 4 T's. It is called How Manga Broke the US Comic Industry. Really, really cool deep dive into the rise of manga in the West, and like how Marvel and DC can't even compete with the numbers that manga does at this point. However,
Oh no.
the early days are crazy, and it's a really, really cool story of guys just believing in uh, these stories and these creators and these mangaka and uh, this art form, and being like, it sells so well, it's taken so seriously in Japan. Why aren't our comics taken seriously? And now
Right.
this is kind of a perfect storm of
There's
like
so much culture to
late
go. There's so many
80s.
reasons for that. Dating back to the 50s, dating
Oh,
back to the 40s.
absolutely.
I
Go
mean,
back to
the change in comic
Tezuka and
culture.
Astro Boy and all this
Well,
stuff.
even I'm even talking in American comics, like the culture that Americans have and the understanding and response that Americans have to the medium of comics
Mm,
itself goes back to those earliest days. Like Frederick Wortham fucked us forever,
yeah,
basically. Uh, and some people, and the problem is now we have the culture that's like, either we don't want anything that is at all like sinister, or we only want shit where it's like people getting shot in the fucking face by Superman,
yeah.
you know? So we don't need to get into that rant right now. It's already an hour and 52 minutes.
Really great video essay. It's about an hour and a half long. So, I mean, you could probably just listen to it if you want to do that. But all the art that is shown is really, really, really cool. Just about how the like bringing manga to mainstream US audiences was such a labor of love, betrayals and rivalries, and it's incredible. Honestly, I would read a manga about that story because it would be super
I
compelling and
think it's called
amazing.
Understanding Manga by Scott McCloud.
Oh no. So how manga broke the US comic industry. Highly recommend that on YouTube, and we'll include a link to it, obviously. And because I watched that, my second recommendation is
The Goat of All
gotta read
Time.
The Goat of
And
All
you have
Time.
my favorite version of the trade. Is that Oh, okay. I thought that was the original epic.
It isn't.
I have the original epic copies of that. The Goat of All Time, Akira, one of my all-time favorite comics, one of
Katsuhiro
my all-time
Otomo.
favorite films.
Yeah.
Otomo-san, one of the great masters of visual arts, period.
Absolutely. It is. So I think I read the first volume of Akira when I was in high school, and then I just didn't read the rest of it. I don't know why.
I mean, I could do a Kiraography.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. I sprung for the 35th anniversary box that Kodansha did a couple years ago.
Nice.
It's
so
gorgeous.
Nice.
These are gorgeous. It is the 35th anniversary reprints have the original Japanese sound effects that were drawn in by Otomo, not the translated ones that they did in the reprints afterwards, with a glossary at the back. So
that's fucking awesome.
If you want to know what the sound is, however, most of the time it's like a motorcycle and you're like, vroom, got it. But in the back, it also tells you that it is vroom. So
so you can learn Japanese
through
onomatopoeia.
I think what's so cool about that is just like, I don't know Japanese at all. But comics are such an incredible medium because when I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, I get the sound that it makes. You're telling me it makes a sound? Got it. Let's go. I will say that the sound effect work here is incredible, and the second best sound effect work in all of comics, in my mind, is Walter Simonson and John Workman in Thor. I mean, like, to me, if we're going to talk about like drawn in sound effects, like drawn into the art and not lettered kind of over the art, that's, to me, the second goats of sound effects. Anyway, so watch that YouTube video if you want, or listen to it. Read Akira. It fucking rules. And if you like our show, please rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to the show. Please share with your friends. That really, really, really helps because we don't do ads on this show. And we would like more listeners. We think that we're interesting enough. I know we're getting into it.
Sure, tell your friends. I appreciate, it's been a little while since we said it, but I just want to say I appreciate every single member of the Spawn community. I appreciate every person who tunes in week after week. I appreciate that we have a group of folks who have found us and have enjoyed our podcast, and just the thought that there's even someone out there listening is really cool.
Yeah, thanks so much, y'all. And listen, 2025 was our best year ever, and hopefully 2026 will be well, as a podcast, not as a society. And hopefully 2026 will be as well. George, before we go, for Todd so loved the world,
he gave his only begotten Spawn.
See you later, Hellspawn. Spawnography is recorded in Athens, Georgia, and Queens, New York. It's produced by me, Pierce Lyden. Our theme music and logo were composed by George Marston. Episodes come out every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe. You can find us on social media at Spawnography or at SpawnographyPod. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, you can do so at spawnographypod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, see you later, Hellspawn.